Deep breath. As above, so below, as within, so without. I only want to hold you in my heart. I only want to hold you in my heart. Today I want to talk about repetition. Today I want to talk about repetition. Today I want to talk about the way that people set your expectations with repetition. What does it mean to repeat something? In order to repeat something, you have to have that thing at least once. So a repetition is like a pattern, which is like something in relationship to itself. Something that you can have more than one of. So, but it can't be in the same position that it originally started. It has to be a translation, either in space or in time. So, like at the beginning of this video, when I said I'd like to talk about repetition, it wasn't my voice layered over itself more than once. It was you heard it once and then you heard it again. So that's a translation over time. There was a shift from one time to another time, right? So our minds are primed to pay attention to repetition up to a certain point, after which the thing, well, it becomes repetitive. What is something that is too repetitive? I mean, it becomes background noise. It becomes unremarkable. We get used to it. This is an important principle, because when we're setting expectations, when we have expectations, our expectations are going to be colored by the patterns that have patterned us, right? We at one point were a receptacle for the world to imprint itself on us, and what our mind became attentive to, those people who by their actions, their demeanor, their own mode of being, shaped our expectations of the world. And the things with patterns is they tend to repeat. So we picked up these patterns from our environment, and then we moved out of our environment to a different environment, and we're still trained on that initial data set. We're still trained on that initial set of experiences. And now we're looking for it. The only way to change a pattern is to introduce, I mean, I don't know if it's the only way, but a way you can change a pattern is through distorting the pattern. Now, how do you distort a pattern? Well, you have to go to where the pattern originally developed. The only way to distort a pattern is to confront the pattern, to face the pattern. So if you had a frankly shitty childhood, you have to go to that place. But you can't go as who you once were. If you do that, you're just going to relive everything. You have to go prepared. What do you have to go prepared with? Quite frankly, I hadn't thought this far ahead. Most of these are just done by the seat of my pants. But I'll tell you what worked for me. Frankly, you need someone, it can help to have someone who has patterns very different from yours. By having someone who has patterns very different from yours, if you bring that person into the field where your pattern was originally created, it can help create that distortion, right? We want the distortion. And so in this case, when I'm saying pattern, what I'm thinking is memories. Because what are memories? I mean, a memory is something that you relive. In order to relive it, you had to have lived it once, which means it had to happen at least once, which means it's happened twice. So there's been a translation. That translation is that experience has moved from the present moment into the substrate of your being, into your biology. It's inside of you, right? You're carrying it with you. It does not exist in the past. The past does not exist. Or if it does exist, it exists in your biology, not in time or whatever that means. So you have to go to the substrate in your biology. Now, even better if you can go to the site of the memory. And then what you have to do is allow yourself to go back, because being in the same place will evoke the memory. And then you allow yourself to feel it, to move through your being. You allow yourself to introduce whatever needs to be introduced to the space to distort it. A lot of people like to use, happy ideas, memories, rituals to bring themselves peace. But you can't force it. You can't just say, now it's done. That's not how it works. The pattern happened over some period of time. That's how it was engraved. So you're going to need to balance that out with practice. Then with practice, the bad memory begins to fade. The distortion does its job. It creates ripples in what seemed like what was only yesterday. Or even retracing those old memories might even feel like you have more agency over the situation. Because you do, because it's moved from the external world into the interior. this ended up not being about other people's expectations, but that's maybe for another time. Yeah, expectations and repetition are deeply linked, right? Well, because to expect something is to anticipate, and often what we anticipate is based on our experience. That's the thread. Anyway, I think that's good enough for now. Deep breath. If I could see your shadow, if I could see your shadow, if I could see your shadow, what would I see? Have a good night, everyone.